Good morning, dear friend. Imagine stepping out onto your porch, cup of tea in hand, while the first rays of sunlight warm your favorite chair. The air smells faintly of damp soil and lilacs, and the world feels peaceful, like it's waiting for you to create something beautiful. You look out at your little patch of earth, and maybe you think, I wish I could make it more alive, more joyful, without spending a fortune or breaking my back. Well, you can. You don't need money or youth to build beauty. You only need a bit of imagination and the gentle patience that life has already taught you. In today's quiet visit together, we'll explore 15 clever, heartwarming Dollar Tree garden hacks that truly transform an ordinary yard or patio into a space full of color, fragrance, and life. These ideas are not about perfection or luxury. They're about resourcefulness, turning what others overlook into something that makes you smile every time you walk by. I've always believed the most beautiful gardens aren't measured by size or cost, but by the love that shaped them. Whether you have a sprawling backyard or just a few pots by your window, each of these little tricks will show you how to make your garden bloom in surprising ways while keeping your hands steady, your back happy, and your spirit light. So pour yourself another sip of tea and let's begin our gentle journey into creativity and growth. One humble Dollar Tree treasure at a time. Remember those old plastic laundry baskets stacked in the corner of your laundry room, the ones that have carried hundreds of loads over the years? Well, with a little imagination, they can begin a whole new life in your garden. Picture this. You line one of those sturdy baskets with a bit of landscape fabric or even an old trash bag with a few holes poked in the bottom, and suddenly you've got yourself a lightweight, movable raised bed. It's a perfect solution for anyone who can't bend easily or for renters who don't want to dig into the ground. You can fill it with rich, dark soil and plant shallow-rooted greens like lettuce, spinach, or herbs. The holes along the sides provide wonderful drainage, keeping your plants happy and healthy. And because the basket is so easy to lift, you can shift it around to follow the sunlight or bring it under shelter when the rain comes. I once helped a neighbor named Marjorie do this very thing. She's 72 with a bad knee that makes kneeling painful. We set up 3 old laundry baskets on her porch, and she planted them with mint kale and cherry tomatoes. A few weeks later, she told me she felt like she had her little farm again, the one she left behind when she downsized years ago. That's the beauty of this simple hack. It gives you freedom. The freedom to garden where you are, no matter your space or mobility. It reminds us that growth doesn't need grand gestures, just a container, a bit of soil, and the willingness to begin again. Have you ever noticed how plants, much like people, thrive when given a little space to breathe? That's what makes this next idea such a small miracle for gardeners. Head to the kitchen aisle and pick up a few simple wire cooling racks, the same ones meant for cookies or fresh loaves of bread. But instead of desserts, you'll be using them to elevate life itself. Place your potted herbs, seedlings, or even small flower containers on top of the racks. This slight lift allows air to circulate beneath the pots, keeping the soil from becoming soggy and discouraging mold or root rot. It's such a simple change, yet it can make all the difference between plants that struggle and plants that flourish. It also keeps pests like pill bugs and slugs from setting up camp beneath your precious greens. I remember visiting a friend, Gloria, who kept her plants in a sunny corner of her screened porch. She had struggled for years with yellowing leaves and soggy soil until she tried this little trick. When I visited again weeks later, her basil stood upright, glossy and green, as if relieved to finally have a breath of fresh air. She smiled and said, all they needed was a little lift, just like us sometimes. That's the heart of gardening, isn't it? Learning when to lift something up so it can thrive again. Whether it's a friend, a dream, or a tray of seedlings, sometimes all we need is a bit of space and air to feel alive. If you've ever stared at those pricey seed starting kits in garden stores and thought, there must be a simpler way, You're right, there is. Stroll down the paint aisle at Dollar Tree, and you'll find it waiting, the humble plastic paint drip tray. These wide, shallow trays make perfect seed-starting flats, giving your future garden a gentle and inexpensive beginning. Before filling them, poke a few drainage holes in the bottom with a heated skewer or a small drill. Then add your favorite seed starting mix, light, airy, and full of potential. Scatter seeds in neat little rows, basil, lettuce, zinnias, or maybe even those heirloom tomatoes you've been dreaming about. The shallow depth encourages strong root growth without wasting soil, and the broad surface lets you nurture dozens of tiny lives at once. When watering, set the tray inside a shallow pan and let the soil soak from below. It prevents delicate seeds from washing away and keeps the surface soft and crumbly. There's a quiet magic in watching those first green shoots appear, knowing they began in something as ordinary as a paint tray. My friend Harold, a retired art teacher, once told me, "It's funny how the same tray that once held color for my paintings now holds the beginnings of my garden." There's poetry in that, a reminder that creativity doesn't end when we grow older. It just changes its tools. Whether it's a brush or a seed, what matters most is the hand that dares to begin again. If you've ever wasted time searching for your favorite garden trowel or misplaced your gloves right when you need them most, this next idea will feel like a breath of order. All you need is a simple broom and mop holder from the Dollar Tree, the kind usually used in closets or laundry rooms, mounted on the wall of your shed garage or even the side of a fence post, and you'll have an instant tool organizer that keeps everything within easy reach. The spring clips grip small hand tools, your pruner's trowels, weeders, or even spray bottles, while the hooks below can hold gloves, twine, or plant ties. Suddenly, the chaos of scattered tools becomes a neat, easy-to-see lineup, ready for your next bit of garden magic. It's such a satisfying feeling to have everything in its place. I remember my late husband, George, who could never find his pruning shears. One summer, I surprised him by mounting a few broom holders along the inside of our potting shed door. When he walked in, his eyes lit up. "Well," he said with a chuckle, "you've just saved me 20 minutes of looking every day." From then on, we spent less time searching and more time planting side by side in the soft evening light. That's the gift of organization. It returns time to you. A small change like this means fewer aches from bending, fewer lost tools, and more moments spent doing what you love. In the garden, order brings peace, and peace makes room for joy. You know how easy it is to forget what you planted in which pot, especially when those little seedlings all look the same. That's where this simple, charming hack comes in. Head to the Dollar Tree craft aisle and pick up a pack of wooden popsicle sticks. These humble little sticks can become elegant, long-lasting plant markers that bring both order and nostalgia to your garden. Take a permanent marker and write the name of each plant, perhaps basil parsley or cherry tomatoes. Then brush over the writing with a thin coat of clear nail polish or a light spray of clear sealer. That tiny bit of protection keeps the ink from fading in the sun or washing away in the rain. Press each labeled stick gently into the soil near your seedlings, and suddenly your garden looks more cared for, more intentional, almost like a diary written in green. I learned this trick from my granddaughter, who loves crafts. One spring afternoon, she sat on my porch with her markers and wrote names on sticks for every plant we had. She even drew tiny hearts beside the herbs she liked best. Weeks later, when the basil grew tall and the lavender bloomed, she proudly pointed and said, "See, I named that one." It reminded me that every plant, like every memory, deserves a name. Labeling your garden isn't just practical, it's a way to honor what you've nurtured, to see order growing among the leaves, and to recognize, even in small wooden letters, that what you've planted matters. Composting can feel intimidating at first, piles of scraps, strange smells, and all that waiting. But it doesn't have to be that way. With one small Dollar Tree colander, you can start your own tidy little compost system right on your countertop or patio. Choose a plastic colander with plenty of holes and line the bottom with a piece of newspaper or a paper towel to keep smaller bits from falling through. Then begin your layers: fruit peels, vegetable scraps, crushed eggshells, and even a sprinkle of used coffee grounds. Each piece, once destined for the trash, becomes something valuable, a small act of renewal. Top it off with a handful of garden soil to help the microbes get to work, and before long you'll have dark, crumbly compost that smells like a forest floor after rain. When it's ready, you can empty it into your garden beds or mix it right into your potted plants for a quick nutrient boost. I once showed this trick to my friend Linda, who lives in a small apartment with a balcony garden. She told me I always thought composting was for people with big yards and barrels. But after a few weeks of using her colander composter, she had enough rich material to revive her tired potting soil. Her petunias burst back to life, and she laughed, saying, "Who knew my apple peels could do that?" This little hack is a gentle reminder that nothing in nature is ever truly wasted. Even the scraps of our days, the small, ordinary moments, can feed something beautiful if we give them the chance. There's nothing more disheartening than watching your first ripe strawberry disappear overnight, or finding perfect little holes chewed through your lettuce leaves. That's why this next Dollar Tree trick feels like a bit of quiet victory. You can protect your precious plants using simple mesh laundry bags from the home section, those lightweight, breathable ones meant for delicates. Slip one over your strawberry pot or gently drape it over a tray of young seedlings. Gather the edges at the bottom and secure them with a clip or twist tie. The mesh will let sunlight, air, and rain pass through while keeping birds, bugs, and even curious squirrels from stealing your hard-earned harvest. And when you're done, you can rinse the bag clean and use it again next season. A friend of mine named Denise learned this trick after losing nearly all her spinach to birds one spring. She covered the next batch with a few laundry bags, and by summer had the most gorgeous, untouched greens you could imagine. She joked, "It's like giving my plants their own little armor." Sometimes protection doesn't need to be harsh. It can be gentle, transparent, and kind. Just as we shield what we love with patience and care, these mesh covers quietly stand guard, allowing life to grow safely underneath. It's a small act of defense, but one filled with grace, a reminder that nurturing isn't only about giving. It's also about safeguarding what you've worked so hard to grow. If you've ever grown tomatoes, you know how delicate their stems can be, so full of promise, yet easily bruised, where they brush against a cage or stake. Here's where a little creativity and a bit of Dollar Tree magic saves the day. Pick up a few colorful pool noodles, those soft foam tubes from the summer aisle, and cut them into short pieces about 2 or 3 inches long. Then slice each one down one side so you can open it up and wrap it gently around the tomato stem where it meets the stake. That simple cushion acts as a protector, keeping your stems from rubbing raw or snapping in strong wind. You can even slide longer pieces along wire trellises to make them more plant-friendly. What I love most about this hack is how it represents something larger, the importance of gentle support. My neighbor Paul, a retired firefighter, grows the juiciest tomatoes you'll ever taste. A few years ago, he showed me his plants, each stem cradled softly by bits of bright blue pool noodle. Old bones and young vines, he said with a grin, both need a little padding to keep from breaking. That line stayed with me. In gardening and in life, support doesn't have to be hard or rigid. Sometimes it's the soft, forgiving kind that makes all the difference. These small acts of kindness, even toward plants, remind us to treat our own growth with the same gentleness. After all, everything that reaches for the sun needs something kind to lean on. One of the biggest struggles for many gardeners, especially during hot summer days, is keeping the soil evenly moist. You water in the morning, but by noon, the sun has already drunk it dry. Here's a wonderfully clever Dollar Tree solution that works almost like magic. Use a pet cooling mat or an absorbent dish mat beneath your potted plants. Simply water the mat until it's nicely damp, then set your plant containers on top. Throughout the day, the mat slowly releases moisture upward into the pots, helping to maintain steady hydration without constant watering. It's especially handy for hanging baskets or porch plants that dry out quickly. If you know you'll be away for a couple of days, give the mat an extra soak before you leave. It will act like a quiet caretaker in your absence. I once tried this with my fern collection when I went to visit my sister for a weekend. I returned expecting to find wilted fronds, but instead they were still lush and vibrant. It was such a small change, yet it saved me from worry and guilt. Sometimes the simplest solutions bring the most peace. This trick reminds me of how life itself works best with steady, gentle care. Not too much all at once, not too little for too long, just the right rhythm of attention. Like a cooling mat under a thirsty plant, the quiet consistency of care is what allows things and people to truly thrive. Vertical gardening often sounds fancy, but it doesn't have to be expensive or complicated. At the Dollar Tree, tucked between the kitchen and dining aisles, you'll find simple metal napkin holders, those little wire frames designed to keep paper napkins upright. In your garden, though, they can serve a far more enchanting purpose. Press one into the soil of a pot or raised bed and plant peas, beans, or small climbing flowers around its base. As your plants grow, guide their delicate tendrils up and over the arch. Before long, that plain metal frame transforms into a miniature gateway of greenery, a living sculpture that catches the light. You can even spray paint the holders in warm bronze or cheerful pastels to match your garden's personality. I once gave a few of these to my friend Nora, who lives in a senior apartment with just a small balcony. She arranged 3 napkin holders in a long planter and grew sweet peas that reached nearly 2 feet tall. "It's like my garden is reaching back toward me," she said softly one morning, watching their vines curl and bloom. Sometimes, the smallest structure can give something room to climb. Whether it's a plant stretching toward the sun or a person rediscovering their spark, all it takes is something or someone to lean on. Beauty doesn't need to be grand. It just needs a place to grow upward. If you love cooking with fresh herbs, but find yourself short on space, this next hack will feel like a gift. Pick up 3 simple wire hanging baskets from Dollar Tree and a pack of zip ties or small chains. With just a few connections, you can turn these inexpensive pieces into a vertical herb garden that brings life and fragrance to even the tiniest porch or patio. Start by hanging the first basket from a sturdy hook or shepherd's pole. Then use zip ties or chain links to attach the second and third baskets beneath it, forming a cascading tower. Line each basket with coconut fiber burlap or even a cut-up reusable shopping bag to hold the soil in place. Plant herbs that suit your kitchen style, perhaps basil at the top, for sunlight, parsley in the middle, and thyme or oregano below. My neighbor Judith, who downsized from a big farmhouse to a small condo, built her own herb tower last summer. She said, "Every time I clip basil for dinner, I feel like I've brought a piece of the farm right back home." There was pride in her voice, gentle but strong. That's what this little tower does. It lets you build upward when space runs thin. It reminds us that abundance isn't about size, it's about layers. Just like life, where our roots may narrow, but our growth can still reach for the light. There's something deeply hopeful about starting seeds, tiny promises resting quietly in soil, waiting for warmth and light. If chilly nights are holding you back from planting, Dollar Tree's clear plastic shoeboxes can become your perfect little greenhouses. They're lightweight, stackable, and just the right size for a windowsill or porch table. Fill the bottom of each box with seed starting mix and sow your seeds as you normally would. Snap the lid on gently and place the box in a sunny spot. The transparent plastic traps humidity and warmth, creating a miniature ecosystem where sprouts can thrive. Once you see those first brave shoots pushing upward, crack the lid slightly to allow fresh air in just enough to prevent mold while keeping the tender seedlings cozy. I first saw this idea in action at my friend Carol's house. She's 81, and every spring she starts marigolds and cherry tomatoes in a row of clear boxes that line her kitchen window. She calls them her baby gardens. Watching them grow, she told me, makes her feel like she's nurturing life all over again, like being young but slower. She said with a laugh, "There's comfort in giving new life a safe start, even if it's something as simple as a plastic box." It reminds us that beginnings don't always need grand gestures. Sometimes they just need a bit of protection and warmth. Like the seeds we plant, we too flourish when we feel sheltered and seen. Harvest time should be joyful, not messy or painful. Yet bending over to gather greens or chasing fallen tomatoes across the soil can make it more of a chore than a celebration. That's why this next Dollar Tree hack feels like such a small blessing. All you need is a simple plastic dustpan, the kind you'd normally keep under the kitchen sink. When it's time to harvest, hold the dustpan beneath your lettuce herbs or spinach as you snip. The leaves fall neatly inside, clean and ready for the basket. You can also use it to scoop soil into pots or to collect weeds into a tidy pile without straining your back. It's light, sturdy, and easy to rinse off afterward. Keep one dustpan in your garden shed and another on your patio. You'll be surprised how often you reach for it. I remember my friend Walt, a retired carpenter, who told me, "You know, I've built barns and porches, but this dustpan might be my favorite tool." He used it to gather the tiniest cherry tomatoes from his patio garden, smiling as he filled it to the brim. It's not about the tool, he said, it's about how it makes the work easier and keeps the joy in it. That's what this hack captures, the grace of simplicity. Gardening doesn't need to be grand or backbreaking. Sometimes it's about finding clever ways to bring ease and comfort to the things you love. Because the less strain you feel, the more joy you can pour back into what you grow. Every gardener knows that keeping tools in order is half the battle. Between twine gloves, pruner's seed packets, and spray bottles, it's easy for things to pile up and vanish just when you need them. That's where this brilliant Dollar Tree hack brings a sense of calm, an over-the-door shoe organizer. Hang it on the back of your shed door, garage wall, or even a nearby fence post, and watch chaos turn into harmony. Each clear pocket becomes a perfect little home for your supplies, gloves in one, scissors in another, plant tags, packets of seeds, and small bottles of fertilizer neatly tucked away, where you can see them all at a glance. No rummaging, no lost tools, no frustration. Just a small moment of relief every time you reach for what you need. I first tried this trick when my daughter surprised me with one for Mother's Day. "Mom," she said, "you need your own command center." We hung it together on my potting shed door, and I filled the pockets one by one. Weeks later, I realized how much time it saved me and how peaceful it felt to walk into a space that wasn't cluttered. Order isn't about perfection. It's about peace. When everything has its place, the mind feels lighter. In gardening, as in life, organization isn't just practical, it's a kind of kindness to yourself, a way of saying, "You've done enough. Let's make this easier." When the sun finally dips below the horizon and the air cools, your garden doesn't have to fade into darkness. With a handful of Dollar Tree solar lights, you can turn it into a peaceful evening sanctuary that glows softly long after dusk. Start by removing the light portion from the plastic stake and placing it inside mason jars, glass vases, or even small lanterns. Arrange them along your pathways, around your flower beds, or across your patio table like little beacons of warmth. As daylight fades, those small lights begin to flicker alive, illuminating your garden in shades of gold. It's a quiet transformation, simple, affordable, yet so deeply beautiful. Each light reflects the day's care you've given the work of your hands, glowing softly back at you. My neighbor Alice once told me she began doing this after her husband passed. She placed solar lights among their old rose bushes and said, "It feels like he's still walking the garden with me each evening." There was something profoundly tender about that, a reminder that light can be memory, comfort, and companionship all at once. That's the beauty of this final hack. It's not just about decorating your garden. It's about giving it a second life after sunset. Just as the day ends, a new kind of peace begins. In our own lives, too, we can still glow warmly, even in twilight, our light softer, but no less real. Every small glow reminds us beauty doesn't end. When daylight fades, it simply changes form. And so, dear friend, we've wandered through 15 simple ways to turn the ordinary into something quietly extraordinary. From laundry baskets reborn as raised beds to twinkling solar lights that make night feel alive again. Each idea shares the same gentle truth: beauty doesn't require wealth. It grows from care, creativity, and heart. You've seen how scraps can become soil, how old tools can find new purpose, and how even a small space can bloom with abundance. Maybe you'll try just one idea this week. Perhaps the shoebox greenhouse that shelters new life, or the herb tower that climbs toward the sun. Whichever you choose, let it remind you that it's never too late to make something bloom again. Whether it's your garden, your home, or your own sense of joy. I've always believed that gardens are teachers. They show us that everything plants, people even forgotten odds and ends, deserves a second chance. When we nurture with patience, when we tend what others might overlook, beauty returns to us in unexpected ways. So take a moment to stand in your garden this evening. Let the light fall softly on your hands, the ones that still create, mend, and give life. Know that you've earned this peace, this patch of earth that listens quietly as you work. And as always, I'll leave you with this blessing: may your days be gentle, your soil rich, and your spirit forever growing. Until next time, happy gardening, dear friend.